Right. So I'm so excited. Today I'm here with Carolina as we continue our conversation that started a bit ago about what it's actually like being a digital nomad and how to build that business. She's been doing it for over 3 years and has so much information to share that on our last video I was like, okay, we have to do this again. And so today we're going to focus on how to actually build an online business, some practical tips. I know that I'm here building a business now and I meet so many other people who are just starting out. Maybe they're trying to do Fiverr, they're trying to build on Upwork, but they're starting from nothing. You know, what advice, what should people do and know before they can get clients and get jobs and actually start working as a digital nomad?
It's a tough question.
Right.
There's a
no
lot.
Pressure.
Yeah. There's a lot that that goes into play. I mean, just like think about it as well. You are building a business, even if it's a freelance side, like freelance business. It is still a business. I think a lot of people think that by joining platforms like Upwork or Fiverr, it's going to be easy and it will be, you know, automatic, whatever. It's a cruel world out there. There's a lot of competition, and if you don't go in with a strategy, then you'll be lost.
And now, how important is it? Because I was thinking that one strategy could be to get really specific, you know, narrow your market, because there are so many people on Fiverr, there are so many people on Upwork. Is it valuable to sort of create a narrow market for yourself, or do you think it's better to cast a wide net and say, like, I'll do anything, give me that $5? You know? I don't know.
Definitely going with the narrow aspect. So, well, it goes again to like the business, I'm going to say strategies, like you want to niche down, whatever you do, whether it's, you know, you're providing services to somebody or you're selling a product, like you want to be perceived as a master of your trade. So, the whole jack of all trades thing doesn't really fly well, or at least you can't be charging premium prices for that because people just don't trust you.
And now I wonder, how specific do people need to be? Like, let's say you're a graphic designer. I don't know, you design logos. Like, is it enough to say I'm a graphic designer, I specialize in logos? Or does someone just say I'm a graphic designer, I specialize in restaurant logos? Like, how
niche?
Yeah, how niche?
Well, for me, that depends on the market.
Okay.
What you do, your market, like how the market reacts to what you're selling. How far you should go, it really depends on, well, can you go far enough that you won't just dry out of clients? Because that's also one thing to think about.
Right.
When you're niching down, like, if you're niching down to just restaurant branding, I would say, and a lot of people do, well, obviously there's enough restaurants out there to fulfill your financial needs, but don't go too far that you kind of like have that
so you don't,
too small.
Maybe you do restaurant branding, but you don't want to do like Indian restaurants in Thailand, maybe specifically.
Yeah. And then you have 3 of them and then that's it.
Right.
And then,
you don't want to have only 3 clients, but then again, you don't want to be so broad that like there's no reason to go to you, maybe specifically as a person.
Well, that's the thing, because people don't really trust if you say you know everything, people don't trust you. And I mean, I specialize in branding, and like I start with logo design because that's the essence of a brand. I still do everything. I mean, I still do marketing materials, websites, things like that, but it trickles down from building that brand. So even though I say I specialize in something, it doesn't always apply, right? Because my work is reflected in everything, and it can be, the voice you're taking to express your business, marketing materials, the website, social media strategy, things like that.
And of course, I think a lot of people also do like this one-stop shopping ability. I mean, of course, if you're a creative person, and if you can do a logo and then help a person through other steps, because of course a lot of creative people can do more than one thing. So they can do logos, they can also do web designs and things like that also. So I think it's nice to be able to tailor it, but to kind of still not say I do web stuff graphically. Might not be specific enough.
That, and even if
there's like a really loud blender. I don't know what this person is making.
Yeah.
We're at a restaurant, like someone's getting a really good drink.
So even if you provide a full service, like a full array of services, it's easy to say that you specialize in one thing and you outsource, or like you work with professionals that are best in their own category. That's something that people want.
And outsourcing is definitely huge that you bring up, because I think a lot of people talk about that with the 4-hour work week too, like this idea of outsourcing. And I know she's laughing because Carolina, yeah, right. Carolina's not super. I don't know. The 4-hour work week isn't always as simple as it might seem. I think there's a lot of advanced work that can go into it. But this idea of outsourcing some things, I think, is huge, in that you don't have to know how to do everything. But if you can facilitate and make sure things are done well, that's definitely a value. So you can add this. And another thing I want to talk about, though, with building an online business is pricing. Because I think that especially with sites like Fiverr in particular, I think a lot of people feel like they need to be charging $5. And not every service warrants a $5 price tag. You know, how do people decide how much to charge? Should they just do everything for $5 and kind of see how it works? Or how did you build?
So there's, for that, I mean, there's a lot of factors coming into play, and I think like that's one of the biggest mistakes that people do. They underestimate what plays into them pricing, but it's because it goes back to, like, as a freelancer, if I'm not on Upwork, I'm selling my services, right? So I'm convincing people that I am the right person to do so, and I'm worth the money. Obviously, your prices, if you're not able to convince people to hire you, it doesn't really matter what the price you're charging. I mean, if you don't have that sales part, nothing comes behind that.
And I think it's important to remember, because I think sometimes people price themselves so low. Like when I talk to people who are starting out, they're nervous about kind of selling and setting their prices, and they feel kind of intimidated by, can I ask for this amount or that amount? And it's like, I think a lot of times you can get a decent amount. You can start at $30, $40. For some design services, it doesn't have to be the bare cut rate if you are offering a service that's quality. Like I see if you're offering.
Yeah.
But I mean, I even saw some things online where it's like people will help you with writing some things and posting some articles, but I wanted it posted in English, and I could tell by the listing that English isn't their first language. So it's like, well, I could pay $5, but I'm sure that the grammar is not going to be exactly right.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, if you want a person who's maybe a native English speaker, that might be a premium.
Exactly.
Or if you want someone who's a native Portuguese speaker, maybe that's an upsell as well, if you want to do something in a foreign language. So I think all of those variables kind of come into play when deciding the price. And sometimes I don't like it when I see everyone who just seems like they're setting their prices almost too low.
Yeah, and I think that stems a lot in self-confidence too, and in the confidence in your own abilities. And I'm still struggling with that. Like, it's a never-ending problem, but like because I started pricing myself really low, and even now on Upwork, because going into Upwork with a certain strategy, I mean, you're competing with certain people, so you have to take that into account, right? So at first it was a question of me not being confident in my ability, so I would price myself low. But as I built that credibility and I built that confidence in myself, then my prices reflected that. But one thing that people will say was like, your time is valuable, this and that. But if it comes from a place of hesitance, it will translate when you're talking to your clients.
Right.
They will see that. So
you have to mean it. Yeah.
There's no point in like having this mindset of like, I'm going to charge high, and even if you don't believe in yourself, or if you're scared about it, because it just reflects. That just is. So
I was talking with someone else this morning who does work on Upwork and on Fiverr, and she was saying how she was listening to a podcast, and there was a woman there who charges like $500 a pop for some writing service that she's offering, but it's the same service that other people are offering for much less, but she's carved out a niche for herself, and she set a price that she feels is fair. And it's not about taking advantage of anyone, by the way, but she is, and she feels like she's an expert in her field, so she is, and this is what she's offering, and people are happy, because ultimately as well, when you're dealing with a site like Fiverr or Upwork, you're getting reviewed on your work. Yeah. So obviously, if people are paying the prices, they're agreeing to that fee, and then they're unhappy with the service, that's when there's a disconnect. That's when there's going to be an issue. and then you can use that feedback to hopefully grow and adjust. But I think that it's also a nice opportunity to kind of test the waters and see. And you can't please every customer, because I know people as well who, you don't book every client. If they want to pay $5 and the fee is $25, sometimes that doesn't work out.
Exactly.
And that's okay.
I mean, it will never go just right. That's impossible. It's impossible to go through a career and have zero complaints.
Yeah.
And only good clients and only, it's just that's a myth. And but it's about managing expectations and
right.
And on Fiverr, I don't know much about Fiverr, but on Upwork, it seems that yes, people are ready to pay that premium for the quality. They're not afraid of that.
Yeah.
As long as they get the quality, because that's
right.
a whole different. I'm not talking about the level of your skills, right?
Yeah.
But how do you translate? How do you communicate that quality to people is
right.
also another skill. It's also
right.
something different.
Right.
So you might be best at what you do. If you can't communicate that or convince somebody of your worth,
right.
then your price doesn't matter.
So you have to write a really good blurb, have some decent samples, and go from
testimonials,
there. Starting out.
Yeah. And do shit work for at first. Do your best for shit pay and get that rating. And
how long do you think someone should do that? The building phase of not charging so much.
I think it depends on your strategy. I put all my effort into Upwork for a month, and it worked out really well. But I was dedicated. I did nothing else.
That's not a bad time investment. Work hard for a month.
Yeah.
Maybe set your prices a little bit lower than you would ultimately have it. Get some great reviews, and then you have a good portfolio and start charging. I think it looks like it's about to rain. We're here in Chiang Mai. It's the rainy season. I think it's about to come down, which means we can end that here before we get drenched and the camera is ruined. It's always amazing to talk to you and to learn. As we're talking, I feel like I'm also learning as well. So I'm appreciative of your time.
It's a pleasure. I'm glad you are.
And feel free to share, subscribe to make sure you don't miss what's coming up next. There's definitely more, and we'll discuss that in just a minute.